seriously, real question. What is up with the dementia thrillers? I'm John Stark from ActorMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Knox Goes Away. Um, you may have noticed that Max got this, and they may have sent you some notifications. Sadly, Max decided to pick up a new film and then not get audio description for it. So this is on Max without audio description. I I don't know. I think this movie had audio description. It was released theatrically near me. I can't imagine it doesn't have audio description um, that was ever written for this. So what's up, Max? Anyway, I'm a blind film critic, so let me introduce myself. I got a purple hat on backwards, baseball cap. I've got black sunglasses, and I'm wearing a Loki shirt. Just says the word Loki on the front. There's an image on the back, but unfortunately that doesn't help YouTube videos. I can't just like twirl around in my chair. So I'm basically just low-key promoting Loki. So Knox Goes Away. I watched it. I was really interested because Michael Keaton's directing this and starring in this. So I was like, what does this look like for him? And then I realized, oh my God, it's another dementia thriller. What the fuck is happening? Why are all of these men starring in dementia thrillers? Like, I just watched Russell Crowe in Sleeping Dogs, and now I'm watching Michael Keaton in Knox Goes Away. What is up with this subgenre of films? And we already had, I mentioned in my Sleeping Dogs review, I was like, Liam Neeson was in this. I would qualify Stream of Consciousness as being in this, or what's the name of the film? It was a Stream of Consciousness. Anyway, that Emil Hirsch movie that he did that was terrible. It's on Peacock. Don't watch it. And ironically, I think it's the only one that has audio description. It's the worst of it's the worst of them. I don't know what this is. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we keep having these actors being these, like, I'm a killer, but oh my God, now I have dementia or Alzheimer's or an adjacent thing, and now I have to deal with that. Oh man, my life really took a surprising turn there. I mean, literally, like, this is basically the plot of Liam Neeson's movie, where he had Alzheimer's and he was an assassin and he was like struggling with that, and he wanted to like protect somebody in the end, and he realized that he didn't, like, his time on Earth was gonna be short-lived, so he just wanted to like save this like one person, type of thing, and you get kind of that, and Knox Goes Away. Uh, Michael Keaton gets this diagnosis, and then he's like, well, I have to tie up some loose ends, and he kind of goes around and he does like one final job. It doesn't go well, and he is trying to like make sure that all of his ducks are in order and all of his finances go to the right people. And he's at home one night, and his son stumbles in the room, played by James Marsden, and he's like, I did something, and at first his dad doesn't recognize him, and legitimately, because there's no audio description here, I'm like, well, maybe that's the movie. Maybe at this point somebody's taking advantage of him and pretending to be his son, and it'll be the son that never existed. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he does. He's like Miles. Like, he remembers. So it's not like James Marsden had to tell him what his name was. He did remember the kid's name, so it is his son. And he finds out that Miles beat to death. This is the movie. These are not spoilers yet. Miles beat to death the guy who raped his 16-year-old daughter. So, surprise, John Knox. That's Michael Keaton's name, full name, John Knox. You have a granddaughter also. And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, we're also cutting back and forth to these cops that are trying to investigate the hit that he almost got away with, like it almost. And the cops here are pretty they're pretty smart. I'm not going to say that they're not on top of things. They're noticing. There's the female cop. I didn't catch her name, but she's like, look, so this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and because of this, we see that this. So who turned off the shower? And they're like, oh, you're right. You know. Um, so then they realize that it's a murder. It's a setup. So um, they're on the trail. Meanwhile, John is trying to figure out how to cover up this thing for Miles. And we also see he goes off and he's tying up loose ends. Al Pacino's in this, playing sort of like an old colleague of Michael Keaton. Surprisingly, not the bad guy, just an old colleague of Michael Keaton's. Marcia Harden is in this. So we've got a couple of decent cast members here in this film that it doesn't have audio description on Max. I thought the ending was good. Like the twist at the end, I had a hard time getting to it because he has, just like in Sleeping Dogs, we have these weird flashes. I guess that's the thing. That's how we visualize dementia on screen, is when people and they have a memory and they're like, ah, and then like you hear like the noise of like the whatever they're seeing, like whatever they're visualizing on screen, and they're like, oh man, what is this? I'm like, I don't know, man. I can't help you. I'm blind. Unfortunately, Max didn't jump for audio description on this one, so you're on your own, Keaton. You're gonna have to multiplicity your way out of this one. But he is, you know, it's a good performance. From everything I can tell, I think Michael Keaton actually tried here. Like this is, I don't know that it's a great film, but I think if audio description was here, I think it would be a good film. It shockingly has a pretty decent IMDb score, all things considered, considering this was not a film that had like a massive theatrical release. I didn't really remember critics jumping all over it. I felt like this is kind of the film I would find on IMDb with like a 5 point something. No, it has like a 7. I was like, what? Okay. Okay, you do you. Knox goes away. So, it's I probably it has a lot to do with the ending. I think honestly the ending, I didn't quite see it coming, and I liked how it played out. And even as a blind person who was only getting bits and pieces, I was like, oh my god, I feel like this is a juicy ending. Please give me audio description. I want to know how he did this. Because it's one of those things where it's like when you hear it said out loud, you're like, there has to have been like footage of him doing this. And I'm missing it. I'm missing the details, but it sounds like a really cool ending. It's like if somebody tells you like the beginning of The Sixth Sense and then the end of The Sixth Sense, and you're like, wait, how did they get there? And they're like, that doesn't make any sense. Wait a minute, what? So like there's a way for you to describe that, and you're like, but you don't get the nuance of it. You don't get like the work that went into that. And I feel like a lot of work went into this ending, and I didn't get to fully appreciate it because there wasn't audio description on this. And that's just a shame. It's a shame, especially if there's an existing audio description track. Then it really is just sort of like a fuck you Max thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know we like to say I would put this on the studio as well, the distributor / production company, and say you should always want your film to be represented in the best light possible. And when you don't pass up through accessibility, that's your fault. But it's also on the fault of the streaming service for not having somebody whose job it is to make sure that all available audio description is acquired for content not made directly for that streaming service. And that includes content coming downstream directly from other sources, because it's not happening. Like Hulu's really bad at getting Disney movies with audio description, like 20th Century Fox titles and stuff like that. So they obviously, you have to do it even with your own, within like the synergy. It's just, there's no synergy. So even at Max would have to do it and make sure that they're contacting people from all the different WBD subsidiaries and making sure they're getting all of the correct audio description. But there has to be somebody in these jobs who is accountable for this, and that you can point to and say, this is Dave's fault. Fuck you, Dave. Because in the meantime, it just makes the company look really bad. It makes you look really lazy as a company, and it just sends the message to the blind community that you don't care. If you can't pay one person the job, to call and reach out to contacts, and because it's not an overwhelming amount of films and series that come to him on a daily basis. So for him to be able to reach out to people and acquire these files and then send them on to whoever the next person is that has to upload them and verify that it's been uploaded, I can't believe if that's his job, if that's his 40-hour-a-week job, I feel like one person can do that job. And if you can't fund one person's salary to make sure that accessibility is being passed through, then why am I paying for you? So, yeah, it's just, this is nonsense. This is just silly. So, unfortunately, I only have 289 subscribers, so they don't care about. If I added 3 zeros to the back of that, I'm sure they'd care a little bit more. So everything about here is about your social footprint. And so like and subscribe, share, whatever you got to do. But yeah, this is a bit of a mess with that audio description. There was stuff I didn't understand. There was stuff that I couldn't quite follow. I got kind of like the main talking points of the film, but I didn't really get into it that much. Like I said, I think Michael Keaton does a nice job here. Al Pacino's not really in this enough for me to really have like an informed opinion about him. Marcia Harden's in this film even less. I think Al Pacino actually has more screen time. James Marsden's in it a decent amount, but still way less than Michael Keaton. This is just a Michael Keaton film. Also, I noticed Dennis Dugan is in this. He was listed in the cast list. Chad Danella was listed on the cast list. I mean, there are a couple people that like I was like, those are some deep cuts. Both of them, I haven't seen them in a film, I don't think, in a while. Dennis Dugan did stuff back in the 90s and then started directing. I think he's the director of Big Daddy. Adam Sandler's Big Daddy. But he did act. He was in front of the camera also for a while. And then he directed like Happy Gilmore, Big Daddy, something like that. And he did some Adam Sandler movies. Anyway, and Chad Danella, if I remember correctly, was in The Fast and the Furious. I need to say it really carefully. The Fast and the Furious. So as the one that drove away, I think that's Chad Danella. I'm pretty sure that is, if I'm remembering correctly. So, yeah, I would love to be able to give this a positive review, but I can't because it's missing too much stuff, and I didn't fully understand. Like, first of all, like the hit scene, to me, I don't know why it went wrong. And he never actually sits down and has a conversation about it, right? He never like tells you, well, this is what was supposed to happen, but this is what I did instead. This is a very dialogue free film. It's very low on dialogue. It also is very low on score. So you get a lot of like really just quiet moments, Michael Keaton was like, I don't like scores. I'm just not going to use one. I don't know. I think there's like a little bit of music, but it's so sparing. Any music that's ever used in this film is like just like fleeting moments. There's so many scenes in here that are not underscored by anything, which I noticed. I was like, man, where's the score for this? He's just choosing not to use any music in this film. Okay, that's a choice. So, whereas Sleeping Dogs, I spent the whole time being like, wow, this string score is like really aggressive. I kind of like it. So, 2 totally different experiences I've had recently with very similar films. Neither of them had audio description. Both of them desperately need it. So, sadly, I have to give Knox Goes Away unwatchable. I don't want to. I have a favorable opinion of this film in my head. I just can't land on a grade. I don't know where this would be. There's like a range, but I would encourage people to see it over not see it if somebody asked me. If you were sighted, if you want to know, you're the only film critic that I've seen, and you happen to be blind. What's your general? I would say if you can see, then see it. If you're blind, then this is a mess. So I think this is a decent film. I think this is watchable for a visual audience. I just think that we're getting shafted on the disability end here. So that's why I keep doing this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the other side.